Thank you. Hi folks, my name is Maddie, and I've been an educator at NatureBridge for almost 2 years. During that time, I have learned a lot of things, such as how to steer a sailor-style canoe, and how to incorporate a stuffed walrus named Wally into most of my team building games. I've also learned that I like working with high energy groups, in a style that bystanders might describe as organized chaos. Little do they know, each one of my students is exploring the environment around them in their own style. Last spring, I had the opportunity to work with a group of rowdy 8th graders from a local Seattle K-8 school, Louisa Born STEM. When I first met my group of 9 students, I quickly noticed that they did seem to have limitless potential energy. And it was my job over the next 4 days to help morph this energy to create not only learning experiences, but a space in which each student could develop their own relationship with nature, hopefully finding moments of independence, collaboration, and awe along the way. The week flew by, and we as a group got to experience the Olympic Peninsula, trying to decide what season she was in. On Monday, we hopped in a sailor-style canoe to gain a sense of our surroundings from the water. One thing potential energy can definitely do is paddle a 40-foot-long canoe. By the next morning, the mountains surrounding Lake Crescent were covered in snow, which allowed for a few snowball competitions on our way up Mount Storm King to get a glimpse of Canada. We went on a road trip to Second Beach and got a view of the Pacific Ocean, many sea stacks, an otter surfing some waves, countless starfish and anemones, and Yusuf and Sodala even got to feel the spray of the ocean. Gio looked for fossils or geodes and rocks, Oliver captured the moments on his camera, and Theo carried around Wally so that he could see all the sights. The students found out that sinky sand is silly, I'm afraid of it, and when I'm afraid, I both scream and snort laugh at the same time. By the time we left Second Beach, all of our sweatshirts were tied around our waists as though it was summer, and we hiked back to the van, tired from a day of tide pooling. Friday came too quickly. Before I knew it, we had climbed a mountain, paddled across Lake Crescent twice, thrown a frisbee maybe a few too many times, been to the Pacific Ocean and back, and it was almost time to say goodbye. I realized that the sense of place we had built throughout the week had been strongly linked to movement. So now it was time to sit still and reflect on what felt like a highlight reel of adventures. We walked to a view of Lake Crescent, where you can see 6 miles of what some of my students have called blue raspberry water, tucked between 2 immense mountain ridges. As each student found a log or rock to sit on, I told them that this was their time, to be still with their own thoughts, take in the surroundings, and reflect on the week the way they wanted. As I went around to check in with each student before they went home and thank them for the adventures we had together, I noticed one student, Theo, seemed sad. During the rest of the week, Theo had been up for any adventure, always had a smile on his face, and was a natural leader amongst the whole 8th grade. I asked him if he was excited to go home. He immediately said he wasn't, that he wished he could stay at NatureBridge forever. He said that school was just so stressful, everything he did was minimized to a grade, and there was all this pressure to succeed on paper. He didn't feel any of that stress at NatureBridge. At NatureBridge, Theo got to know his classmates better, even though they were in their final year of school together. He got to learn and discover a new environment without the pressure that it would result in a grade. He discovered that nature is peaceful and relaxing, a realization that can be hard to find in the day-to-day life of an 8th grader, 8th grade student in Seattle who goes from school to ultimate frisbee practice to other extracurriculars. I have talked to many students who feel the same way as Theo, and I empathize with them. Being a kid and growing up in this world with academic pressure, social media standards, and the stress of global issues such as climate change isn't easy. I told Theo I know it must feel like there are a lot of things that are out of his control, but one thing that could be his is his relationship with nature. The peace and freedom he discovered on our adventures didn't have to end at NatureBridge. Finally, I told Theo that his energy and spirit were contagious. I wanted him to remember when school got stressful that his personality is what had uplifted our group in harder moments. I told him I knew no matter what passions he chose to follow in high school and in life, it was going to be his positive aura and the way he supported those around him that would lead to success. All qualities that grades could never reflect. I'll admit at this point, currently and then, both Theo and I had a few tears in our eyes, and Lake Crescent looked a little blurrier than it had a moment before. My group from Louisa Born STEM sent me letters after they returned to school, thanking me for managing what most of them admitted was a rambunctious group. I learned in Theo's letter that he had been hesitant to come to NatureBridge at all. He was worried the trip would carry the stress of school and tests, just in a different setting. That first day when our group hopped in a canoe, he realized it was going to be different. He concluded his letter by telling me that he'll always remember the words I shared with him that last day beside Lake Crescent, that they made him more confident in himself, and he wanted to carry them with him through life as a motivator. In following up with Theo before this presentation, I also learned that when his classmates were asked what their favorite memories were from their 9 years in school together, most responded their week at NatureBridge. I keep this stack of letters close to me, I even brought them tonight, and read them on days when I need a reminder that showing up at 9 a.m. with a smile on my face, ready to head into the woods with 15 students is all it takes to open minds to adventure and give students the opportunity to feel the peace nature has to offer. Now I would like to ask all the educators to stand one more time. Every individual standing in this room could have stood up here today and told you a similar student story. What gives me the most belief in what we do at NatureBridge are the educators that were standing before you. Sorry. I've seen the countless smiles they have created and heard the laughter and the songs shared with students. But what amazes me most is how these educators take what would otherwise be a beautiful collection of cabins tucked into an old-growth forest on Lake Crescent and make it a space where every student feels supported to explore in their own way, find their voice, and trust that all they have to do is try. Thank you.